Before Rosa Parks, there was Claudette Colvin, but you've probably never heard of her. And that's the tragedy. Because this 15-year-old black girl in Montgomery, Alabama, didn't just stand up for justice, she sat down for it. On March 2, 1955, 9 months before Rosa Parks' historic protest, Claudette boarded a segregated bus after school. Her hair was braided. Her books were in her lap. She was tired, not just from the day, but from years of watching her people be treated like they were less than human. When the bus driver told her to give up her seat for a white woman, something snapped, and Claudette, just a teenager, said no. "I couldn't move," she later said. "History had me glued to the seat." She was arrested, dragged off the bus, kicked, cuffed, humiliated. She didn't go viral. She didn't make headlines. In fact, civil rights leaders at the time deliberately chose not to make her the face of the movement. Why? Because she was 15, dark-skinned, working class, and a few months later, pregnant out of wedlock. They feared white America wouldn't rally behind her, so they waited. And when Rosa Parks, older, lighter-skinned, and seen as respectable, did the exact same thing, history paid attention. But Claudette Colvin wasn't bitter. She was brave. She testified in the court case that eventually ended segregation on public buses in Montgomery. She was the key witness, but instead of being celebrated, she was sidelined. After her arrest, she struggled to find work. Even black leaders distanced themselves from her. She moved to New York, became a nurse's aide, and lived a quiet life while history forgot her. But make no mistake, Claudette Colvin was the spark. She was a child who saw injustice and refused to accept it. She wasn't trained, she wasn't prepped, she just followed her conscience. And the risk she took, it changed everything. Imagine being 15 and being labeled a criminal, just for sitting where you had every right to sit. Imagine your courage being erased because it didn't fit the narrative. She later said, "I felt like Sojourner Truth was pushing down on one shoulder and Harriet Tubman on the other, saying, 'Sit down, girl.' I was glued to my seat." That's how powerful her instinct for justice was. Claudette wasn't trying to make history. She was trying to be seen. She said she'd had enough of learning about black leaders in school and then being told to give up her seat to someone just because of the color of her skin. That contradiction between what she was taught and what she lived lit a fire in her. And that fire lit a movement. Claudette Colvin didn't just inspire Rosa Parks. She preceded her. She cleared the way. But she didn't get the podium. She didn't get the portraits. She didn't get the praise. Because America wasn't ready to see a pregnant teenage working-class girl as a hero. But maybe now we are. Maybe now it's time to rewrite the record. Because heroes don't always wear suits. They don't always speak from stages. Sometimes, they're 15-year-old girls on a school bus, scared but unshaken. Claudette once said she had nightmares for years after her arrest, that the trauma stayed with her, that she felt discarded, overlooked, used. But she never stopped believing in the cause. In 2021, 66 years after her arrest, Claudette's record was finally expunged. She was 82. It took nearly a lifetime to be cleared of something she never should have been punished for in the first place. And when asked what she wanted people to remember, she said this: "I want them to know that my story mattered, that my voice counted." It did, Claudette. It still does. Because without Claudette Colvin, there may not have been a Montgomery bus boycott. There may not have been a court victory. There may not have been a Rosa Parks moment. And there certainly wouldn't have been a movement that echoed across the globe. So let's say her name. Let's teach her story. Let's give her the spotlight she earned but was denied. Claudette Colvin isn't just a hidden figure. She's a foundational one. And her courage reminds us that change doesn't wait for permission. It begins when someone decides they've had enough. At just 15 years old, Claudette decided she wasn't going to move. And because she didn't, the world did. Even now, her story echoes through classrooms and conversations, slowly regaining the weight it always deserved. In recent years, she's been honored more publicly, featured in books, documentaries, and even children's literature, reminding us that erasure doesn't have to be permanent. Her legacy is not one of defeat, it's one of unrecognized strength. We often talk about bravery as something loud, marching, shouting, demanding. But Claudette's bravery was quiet. It was a stillness, a refusal, a silent scream that said, "No more." She showed us that you don't need to be perfect to change history. You just need to be courageous in the moment that calls for it. Today, Claudette lives in Alabama, still watching history unfold, still speaking when asked, still holding the truth. And maybe that's the lesson. Movements are made of many people. Rosa mattered, Martin mattered, but so did Claudette. And when we forget the Claudettes of history, we risk losing the full truth of how progress really happens. Not in one perfect moment, but in many imperfect ones. Claudette Colvin's story isn't just a civil rights story, it's a human story. A reminder that sometimes the biggest movements begin with the smallest acts of defiance, and that sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones history almost left.